Drag Queen Story Hour, which started as a small fringe phenomenon in San Francisco in 2015, is now sweeping the land. This is where parents bring their young children to a public library to be read to by a drag queen. The public libraries, of course, are happily welcoming these events. In Minnesota's Hennepin County Library System, these Drag Queen Story Hours now occur regularly. On October 17th, one such story hour was occurring in the Ridgedale Public Library in Minnetonka. The drag queen, who called herself Sasha Soda, walked in with high heels, a pink skirt, and a shirt that exposed his midsection. According to an attendee, the drag queen strode suggestively past the children, sitting down in a chair before several preschool-age girls with his legs spread wide, exposing his nylon-covered crotch in front of the children sitting at eye level. First off, why the double standard? In any other setting, if an adult exposed their crotch to children, they'd be in jail. Our politicians should get Drag Queen Story Hour out of the libraries. If that means cutting the library's funding, then so be it. It isn't just Sasha Soda who's problematic. A brief search of various Drag Queen Storytime performers reveals a consistent trend of both highly sexualized and ghoulish outfits. One performer, pictured, has about 5 white horns with red tips on his head. And don't for one second think that Drag Queen Story Hour will stop here. If left unattended to, Drag Queen Storytime will soon be in the public schools. It's also a mistake to think that this issue is confined to Drag Queen Storytime and not see the big picture. Across the country, child drag queens are a growing phenomenon. Desmond is Amazing is an 11-year-old boy who has received glowing media attention despite clear and convincing evidence that his parents are financially profiting from his exploitation. How on earth does an 11-year-old decide to be a drag queen without heavy adult manipulation? These child drag queens do suggestive shows in front of adult men in bars as the men sip their drinks and watch. Where is Child Protection Services? Speaking of children being influenced by adults, there's also a growing trend of young children being given life-altering hormone blockers at an early age. The latest example of this is 7-year-old James Younger, which is only a public controversy because his father doesn't want to give the 7-year-old hormone blockers. Never mind the fact that the results are in an early treatment of gender dysphoria, to the extent it even could exist in a young child without an adult manipulating the child, has a terrible track record. It's unnecessary because children grow out of their dysphoria, and it's incredibly damaging because of the terrible and life-changing side effects that often ensue. Common adverse reactions include severe joint pain, like the type you experience when you're 80, but actually when these kids are in their early teens, and severe depression. Part of the story is a growing acceptance of transgenderism, which is the left's next crusade in the culture war. But the transgender lifestyle, especially for biological men, often comes with heavy drug use and high-risk sexual behavior. The average lifespan of a transgendered person is about 30 years. The uncompassionate, who are pretending to be compassionate, say this shorter lifespan is because of the discrimination transgendered people face. If society only were more accepting, they say, trans people would do better. Yet the lifestyle choices of transgendered people, who are deeply hurting and wounded due to many private reasons, say otherwise.
I said I hate my life. My life is nothing but doing drugs, prostitution. I don't like myself. How did I get to this point? How did I end up with breast implants? I looked down at myself, I said, how did I end up with all this stuff? Why do I have all this confusion in my mind?
But there's even more here than a growing acceptance of transgenderism. Ultimately, the far left is pushing the increased sexualization of American children. That's not acceptable. Here's what our politicians need to do. Number 1, ban hormone blockers for young children, at least under the age of 16. Number 2, ban the exploitation of children. That means child drag shows and the pageants that young girls are forced to endure. With Alpha News, I'm Willis Krumholtz.